On young sugar maple trees, the leaves tend to follow the branches, particularly on young saplings. So this is the look we are going to try and achieve. There are lots of photos on the internet of leaves, but we are going to use a photo from textures.com. Trees 0134. The nice thing about this image is that it has a transparent background, just the thing we need to import into Blender as an images as planes. We are not going to use the whole image, but just cut out parts. In total, we will cut out 3 images. To manipulate images, it is useful to have 2 types of programs. One, a vector graphics program, and the other, a raster graphics program. Vector graphics programs create images using a sequence of commands or mathematical statements that place lines and shapes into a 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional space. Blender is, in essence, a vectors graphic program that works in 3-dimensional space. Here we need a 2-dimensional program. On my Mac, I use Graphic by Picta Inc. A raster graphics program, also called bitmap graphics program, creates images using tiny square pixels, or picture elements, arranged in a grid formation to represent an image. Photographs are raster images. Zoom in and you will eventually see the individual pixels. On my Mac, I use Pixelmator Pro by the Pixelmator team. Here we will use both programs to create images of leaves that we can import into Blender as images as planes. From the Trees 0134 image, we are going to cut out 3 images, 2 of leaves and 1 of twigs. For this, I open the graphic program and import the Trees 0134 image. I then crop the image to the area I want to use for the first leaf image. Next, I import the cropped image into the Pixelmator program, so I can remove the remaining areas I don't want. I then transfer the image back into the graphic program and repeat the process for the second leaf image and the twigs image. Links to copies of Leaf Group 1 and Leaf Group 2 and the twigs images are provided in the description of this video. We are now ready to import the leaf group images into Blender. First, I'm going to rename the tree mesh branches and center our tree with the world. To center the tree, with the mesh selected, in Edit Mode and Edge Selection Mode, select the bottom loop of edges and center the origin to the loop. keyboard shortcut Alt plus the 7 key if you have the Origin to Selected add-on installed. Center the 3D cursor to the world origin. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the C key. Then move the mesh to the 3D cursor. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the S key, then select Selected to Cursor. In the Layout workspace and in Object Mode, import Leaf Group 1 as Images as Planes. Keyboard shortcut select the Add menu, select Images, then select Images as Planes. Locate and load Leaf Group 1. Move the image to the left on the X-axis and switch to Top View. Rotate on the Z-axis -90 degrees. Switch to Edit Mode and Edge Selection Mode. Select the bottom edge and subdivide. Keyboard shortcut right mouse button and select Subdivide. Switch to Vertex Selection Mode and move the new vertex to the end of the branch. Keyboard shortcut select the G key twice and drag. Unhide the Properties panel. Select the Item tab and set the location to X = 1, Y = 0, and Z = 0. Set the scale to X = 0.4, Y = 0.4, and Z = 0.4. Apply rotation and scale. Keyboard shortcut Control plus the A key, then select Rotation and Scale. Let's also make the leaf group double-sided. Select the Leaf Group 1 mesh and duplicate. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the D key. Move the Leaf Group 0.001 mesh up on the Z-axis, 0.001 meters. Switch to Viewport Shading. Select the Overlay chevron and check Face Orientation. Select the Leaf Group mesh. Switch to Edit Mode and Face Selection Mode and select the face. Flip the normal. Keyboard shortcut Alt plus the N key, then select Flip. Uncheck Face Orientation and switch back to Viewport Shading. Switch back to Object Mode. Select the Leaf Group 0.001 mesh, then the Leaf Group mesh, and join. Keyboard shortcut Control plus the J key. Repeat the process for Leaf Group 2 and for the Twig Group, setting the X location for the Leaf Group 2 to 2 and for the Twig Group to 3. This would be a good time to save your work. Save your Blender file as sugarmaple07.blend. We are now ready to add leaves to our sapling. We are going to use the weight paint mode and Blender's particle system. Switch to front view and select the branches mesh. Switch from object mode to weight paint mode and set the brush size to 100 pixels. Zoom in and start painting the top branches. More leaves will be placed where the branches are red. Holding down the Alt key and dragging downwards will fill the branches in more quickly. Switch to Object Mode. With the Branches Mesh selected, in the Properties window, select the Particle System tab. Select the plus icon and select the Hair mode. Name the new particle system Leaf Group 1. Set the number to 300. Shorten length to 0.1. Scroll down to the Vertex Group section, and under Density, choose the vertex group just created. In the Render section under Render As, select Object. Under Instant Object, choose Leaf Group 1. Under Render, increase the scale to 8. Scroll up and select the Advanced option. Check Rotation and set the orientation axis to Normal Tangent. Increase Randomize to 0.5. Repeat the process for Leaf Group 2, setting the number to 300. Also set the seed to 1. This will position the leaves of Leaf Group 2 at different locations to those of Leaf Group 1. Repeat the process for the twig group, setting the number to 100. Also set the seed to 4. With the branch mesh selected, select the Modifier tab, and for each particle group, select Make Instances Real. Then apply the Particle System modifier. Select the chevron, then select Apply. Let's clean up the outline window. Select the Scene Collection icon, and then add 4 collections by selecting the icon to the right. Name the collection Branches, Leaf Group 1, Leaf Group 2, and Twig Group. Select and drag the members of each group into the collections. This would be a good time to save your work. Save your Blender file as sugarmaple08.blend. We can now reposition the leaves and twigs so that they point upwards and outwards, as they would on a sugar maple tree. Hide Leaf Group 1 and Leaf Group 2 so you can start with the twigs. In Edit mode, select the Rotate tool from the tool shelf. Select and rotate individual meshes until you are satisfied with the appearance. You can also add meshes if you see places where, in particular, you would like the branches to be better covered. I tend to want to put leaves where they do not extend to the end of the branches. A sequence of keyboard shortcuts facilitates this process. In Object mode, select the Branches mesh, then switch to Edit mode and Vertex Selection mode. Select a vertex, then set the 3D cursor to the vertex. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the S key, then select the 2 key. Switch back to Object mode and select the leaf group. Duplicate the leaf group and place it at the 3D cursor. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the D key, select Enter, select Shift plus the S key, and then select the 8 key. To better see your tree, you can also add an HDRI image. Switch to the Shading workspace, and in the Node Editing window, select World. Add an environmental texture node, keyboard shortcut, select the Add menu, select Texture, and then select Environmental Texture. Connect the color output to the color input of the background node. Select and add an HDRI from the internet. I've selected Approaching Storm from 3D Heaven, a free HDRI I like and have used for some time. Switch back to the Layout workspace. Select the Viewport Shading chevron and check Scene World. This would be a good time to save your work. Save your Blender file as sugarmaple09.blend. Before we create the seasonal meshes, we can delete the group templates that are sitting on the ground grid and join the individual leaves. In Object Mode, select in turn Leaf Group 1, Leaf Group 2, and Twigs Group, and delete. In the Outline window, hide all the meshes. Unhide and expand Leaf Group 1 collection and select the meshes, keyboard shortcut the A key. Reselect the first mesh to make it the active mesh, keyboard shortcut Command plus left mouse button. Join the meshes, keyboard shortcut Control plus the J key. Hide the meshes and unhide the Leaf Group 2 meshes. Expand the Leaf Group 2 collection and select the meshes. Reselect the first mesh to make it the active mesh. Join the meshes. Hide the meshes and unhide the Twig Group meshes. Expand the Twig Group collection and select the meshes. Reselect the first mesh to make it the active mesh. Join the meshes. This would be a good time to save your work. Save your Blender file as sugarmaple10.blend. Be sure to save your work, as we will need this file later. Now that we have our tree with summer colors, let's create a tree with fall colors, and a winter skeleton with no leaves, as a sugar maple is deciduous, and a spring tree with new leaf growth. To create the fall colors, I am going to, in turn, import the Leaf Group 1 and Leaf Group 2 images into my Pixelmator Pro Raster graphics program. Use its Adjust Colors and Replace Color features to change the leaf color, and then use the Clone tool to touch up the images. A link to copies of the images is provided in this video. Open sugarmaple10.blend if it is not already open. Switch to the Shading workspace, and in the Shader Editor window, switch back to Object Mode. Select the Browse icon and select the Leaf Group 1 material. Select the Image Texture node and drag it to the left. Import the Leaf Group 1 fall image. Select the Browse icon and select the Leaf Group 2 material. Select the Image Texture node and drag it to the left. Import the Leaf 2 Fall image. Select the Browse icon and select the Twig Group material. Select the Image Texture node and drag it to the left. I'm not sure why this is necessary, but it keeps the Twig Group image linked to the Twig Group mesh. Let's select a new HDRI, more appropriate to show off fall colors. In the Shader Editor window, switch to the World mode. I've selected Railway Bridge 02 from Polyhaven. Switch back to the Layout workspace. Select the Viewport Shading chevron and check Scene World. For our winter look, all we need to do is hide Leaf Group 1 and Leaf Group 2. For the spring look, I'm going to use my vector graphics program, Graphic, and my raster graphics program, Pixelmator Pro, to cut out leaves and overlay them onto the twig group image. I'll select a leaf group that is a lighter green, as would be new spring leaves. In the Shader Editor window of the Shading workspace, I'll replace the twig group image with the new spring leaves image. We can now combine the seasons into one Blender file by appending the summer leaves and twigs meshes. First, let's rename our spring and fall meshes. In the Outline window, select the Twig Group 001 mesh and rename it Leaf Group Spring. Rename the collection Spring. Rename Leaf Group 1001 to Leaf Group 1 Fall, and Leaf Group 2001 to Leaf Group 2 Fall. Rename the collection Leaf Group 1 to Fall, and move Leaf Group 2 Fall Mesh into the collection. Rename the collection Leaf Group 2 to Twigs Group. In Object Mode, open Sugar Maple 10.blend and append Leaf Group 1, Leaf Group 2, and the Twigs Group. Keyboard shortcut Select the File menu, select Append, locate and open sugarmaple10.blend, select Objects, select Leaf Group 1.001, Leaf Group 2.001, and Twigs Group 0.001, and then select Append. Create a new collection and name it Summer. Move Leaf Group 1001 and Leaf Group 2001 into this collection and rename them Leaf Group 1 Summer and Leaf Group 2 Summer, respectively. Rename Twig Group 001 to Twig Group. Save your work. Save your Blender file as sugarmaple11.blend.